All right, everybody, welcome. I'm so excited to have you today. I am Marilyn Wilson, the president of RE Technology, and as some of you may know, we do these types of webinars regularly to help all of us in the real estate industry figure out how to use technology more effectively in our business. So today we're going to be talking about a really exciting program called RateMyAgent. The theme of our program today is, do you fear anonymous reviews? Do you fear the type when someone might write something about you that you don't even really know? So how do you take back control of your online profile? That's really what we're going to talk about today, and not to keep up at night hoping that somebody's not going to say something about you that isn't real. So with that, let's jump to the next slide, please. I want to introduce you to our panelists. As I mentioned, I'm Marilyn Wilson. I'm the managing partner of Wave Group, as well as the president of RE Technology. We have Mark Armstrong with us. He is the CEO and co-founder of RateMyAgent. He's an Australian and lots of fun. Then we have Lori Davis. She's the CEO and owner and broker of Better Homes and Gardens, Lifestyle Property Partners. And she's recently the VP of Industry Relations for RateMyAgent. So she liked it so much, she bought the product and became part of the team, which is awesome. And then last we have Ashley Young, who is the licensed real estate agent from Keller Williams, and somebody that has plenty of fun opinions, which you're going to hear about shortly. Okay, next slide, please. So before we get started, I just wanted to remind everybody that we feel free to ask any of us questions as we go through this. If you look on the little control panel on your right-hand side of your screen, you'll see a section that says questions, and next to it there's a little gray triangle. If you just put your mouse on that and click it, that will open that box up, and then you can ask any of us questions. We may answer them in real time as you're asking them to them, or we may wait till the end. We'll just see how that goes. But feel free to jump in whenever you have something you'd like to learn more about. Okay. So with that, I thought I would just kick this off. So on Wave Group, our consulting firm that I mentioned a minute ago, we do a ton of market research, and we actually work with the Houston Association of Realtors. And they have fielded a consumer research panel where they actually talk to about 10,000 local Houston residents. We talk to them probably every 4 to 6 weeks on a variety of fun topics. And one of the topics that we covered recently targeted specifically to millennials. And we really wanted to understand, this whole idea of online ratings, because our industry at some level has sort of, I don't want to say neglected it, but sort of, I think we've been a little afraid of it, to be honest. Like all of us, when someone gives you a review, you just hope and hope that it's going to be good news. And it usually is, but it's still a little scary for all of us. So what we found, though, was that millennial consumers, and these are people that have actually either are looking for property, have recently bought, or have recently sold, 2/3 of them use online ratings. So when I talk to some agents, they'll tell us, oh, well, that's not really that important. I would say, yeah, it is. 2/3 of them think it's important. We need to think it's important. And here's a really important number. 43% of them use realtor performance ratings when choosing an agent. So it's not just a random, let me look around. This is when people are getting serious and they're really about to buy or about to sell. They're actually looking for this type of feedback. And when I've spoken with people about this, what they'll tell us is that I don't necessarily only use this, but it's a clear point for me to either to find someone or to underline the fact that I feel really good about them, and now I've learned that other people feel really good about them as well. So it's really, really important. And 2/3 of them say realtor performance ratings are important in choosing an agent. So this is, again, some people like to think this is coming someday soon. It's here, and it's staying here. And it's logical when you think about pretty much for any type of anything that we buy today, we look for ratings, whether it be a book or a car or a school or anything, right? We all go online and look for this stuff. So we're just like every other industry. It's absolutely critical. So that's why we're here today to talk about one really exciting way for you to participate in that and to give consumers exposure to the great work and the hard work you've done for all of your customers in the past. So let's click to the next slide, and I'm going to turn it over to Mark Armstrong, who's going to give us a quick overview of what is RateMyAgent. So Mark, take it away.
Thanks, Marilyn. Yeah, so RateMyAgent, I agree with the comments that Marilyn just made. Then the reality is that everyone is searching for reviews nowadays. People are trusting online reviews more than ever. So it's not a matter of what we as agents or an industry want to do. The reality is consumers expect feedback, and they expect openness, and they expect transparency. And there's nothing we can do about that as an industry. We just have to embrace it and move on. But what we saw was, it's not really that agents fear the feedback. What they actually fear is they fear losing control of customer feedback. And they really fear the anonymous nature of that feedback. And in real estate, we are a very public business. Everyone knows who we are as real estate agents. Everyone knows what jobs we're doing because we publicly advertise properties for sale. So we're a very unique industry where we are we're very open to public feedback. If we just go to the next slide, I was searching through the web a little while ago, and I don't want to start with a negative, but this was a review that I found that was a negative review. But what's really interesting here is the response from the agent. The response starts that says, "This is quite a surprise." But what the agent's really saying here is, "I don't know who provided me this feedback. I'm a good agent, and if I knew who you were, I would call you up, I would have a coffee with you, I would sit down, and I would address your concerns." So it's not the negative feedback that she's worried about. It's the fact that she can't actually address that feedback. And really good agents welcome negative feedback and positive feedback. And really good agents will address any concerns a consumer has. And this is really important because, again, we're in a really, really unique industry. I've been involved in real estate for 25 years. I've been involved in over 1,000 transactions. And we build these amazing relationships with our customers. I remember just a really quick story of a couple who I'd been working with for a number of years, and I helped them sell their property. And after I sold their property, the husband, John, walked out of the room, and Wendy, the wife, broke down in tears. And I walked over to Wendy and I gave her a hug. But what was really happening there was this was more than just a transaction for Wendy. This was actually, as I realized at the time, that they were going through a divorce. And the sale of this property represented so much more than just a transaction. And as real estate people, we are involved in really important parts of people's lives. Young people buying their first home, couples upgrading or downsizing, kids leaving home. They're really emotional and really important parts of their lives. And technology will never, ever replace the relationship that we build with these with our consumers. And that's what RateMyAgent's really about. If we can just go to the next slide, I saw a review that came through. It's very red, but the review, I paraphrase it here, but it said, "Anne is a truly remarkable human being. We love her." How many industries do people say that they love you, because of what you've done for them? It is so unique. But even with this review, just as a text-based review, we don't really know who wrote this. Was it her mum or dad? Was it her husband? I mean, who really wrote this review? It's a really wonderful, positive review, but it's still anonymous. And as a consumer, we don't really, we want to see reviews that have more body to them. So if we can just go to the next slide, this is what RateMyAgent does. We actually take that feedback and we link it to the transaction. So now we know the person who loves Anne is the seller of this property, the property that sold for $330,000. So we've taken a review, a really positive review, and obviously Anne's built a wonderful relationship with this seller. We've linked it to the transaction to give it more meaning, to bring it to life. And once we do that, we can now use this review in a whole range of ways. If we can just go to the next slide again. Once we link a review to a transaction, we can actually now start to use that review to show people within where Anne sells property, or within this seller's community, what people within the community think of Anne. So if we look at that little orange dot there, That's the address of the property where Anne has recently sold the property and got the review. And if you live a few doors down in where the black dot is, that's really important information that you now know that the person who lives a few doors down from you thinks Anne is a truly remarkable human being and they love her. So what you're actually doing there is you're taking a text-based review, you're converting it to what we call a verified review by linking it to the transaction, and then you're using it as a tool to show people within that community what they think of Anne. And this is the aim of RateMyAgent initially, was to really digitize that personal recommendation. Again, as a real estate person, I know that it's a relationship business, and I know that personal referrals are the lifeblood of our industry. But more and more people are going online. So to be able to get that personal referral and digitize it, so people don't have to talk to their neighbours if they don't want to, but they can see online exactly what their neighbours think. So it's really important because we all do it. We all sit up in bed at night on our laptops and we research, you know, the latest fad, or the, you know, we meet someone at a restaurant or a bar or through work, and we get onto LinkedIn and we Google their name and we try and find their Facebook profile. And you know, we all do it. We all conduct, we call them digital interviews. We all get in there and conduct digital interviews to find out as much as we can. So if we can just go to the next slide, this has worked. The next step is, I've got one of Ashley's reviews here. Once you get that review, you can now do a whole lot more things with it. You can share it through social media. You can import reviews from Real Satisfied, or reviews that you've had from, you've been emailed through to you. You can share them through email marketing. You can advertise them through Google and Facebook's and Instagram's ad networks. You've created this really valuable asset, and now you can really spread it across the web and get as many people to read it as possible. So if we just go to my last slide here, that has worked really well for RateMyAgent. In Australia, we launched the platform in Australia around about 5 years ago. We've built an enormous database and an enormous following. Already across Australia and the US, we have 300,000 connected agents, most of those agents through the MLS in the US. We have almost 56,000 agents that actively use our platform every day and every week. And we've already collected a database of over 700,000 verified reviews. So agents have really embraced our platform. They love what we do. They love the transparency. In Australia, again, 80% of all Australian real estate agents use our platform. And we get a review from 1 in 3 properties sold across the country each month. We're really wrapped that last year, we were approached by the REACH program, the National Association of Realtors. They saw what we were doing. They saw our success in Australia, and they said, look, agents in the US would love this product. And we're starting to see that. So we're a part of the REACH program. We're having thousands of agents across the US join our platform every week and every month. We're seeing our review database grow. We're just about to launch an integration with Real Satisfied reviews, so agents can import their Real Satisfied reviews. And we're finding that agents in the US love our product just as much as agents in Australia do. So that's RateMyAgent in a bit of a nutshell, Marilyn. I'll hand it over to you, and we can go through some questions. But for us, we're wrapped to be involved in the US market, and we're looking forward to continued growth.
Yeah, the numbers that you just posed are just so incredible. I don't know if there's any technology in America that has that much adoption. Maybe the MLS system, that's about it. So kudos to you to be able to do that. It's amazing. So we're gonna ask Lori and Ashley and Mark some questions now, just kind of have a conversation about all of the fun things that they do. So the first question I just wanted to kind of pose, and maybe we'll start with you, Ashley, on this one is, you know, do you fear reviews, and how has your opinion of reviews changed over the last couple of years?
Well, I definitely don't. I don't think I don't fear reviews. Like, I think Mark's right. I don't fear the review because I work really hard and I do a good job. And if someone's unhappy, I know about it. and I'm already handling it on the front end. It's not got to do with I found out about it online. Now, I will say, like, I don't own a large team with massive production and volume like you might get, where perhaps someone is humanly incapable of knowing for sure where everyone stands. But I do have my hand involved in every bit of my process, and I know when my clients are unhappy. So I will say that, number one, no, I don't fear reviews because I work so hard, I think they're good. But for the few times when someone gets rubbed the wrong way, or a person who doesn't even know you, or even someone who may have other intent for your reviews and feedback online, I think there's lots of reasons why you may end up with terrible reviews, and it may not always be because of your terrible work. And so I do feel that it's an issue of the confidentiality that being online provides to a lot of people, especially where most places are for real estate reviews today. So yeah, like over the past few years, I mean, I've moved out of the mortgage industry into real estate, and so reviews have mattered to me, you know, for over 6 years. Before that, I was a teacher, and we even had reviews then for teachers. So never have I not felt reviewed. I'm not afraid of the review. I'm afraid of the abuse that can take place within a review scenario when you don't know who's on the other side.
Gotcha. And Lori, as a broker, do you fear reviews, or do you see that your agents are, and how's your opinion changed over the last few years?
Well, I think we've seen a big shift probably in the last 5 years. You know, I think they've gotten where they're better about, you know, not being afraid to ask for it. And I think that comes from, obviously they're more and more commonplace to see reviews, just about everything out there. Like you said, you know, you're going to look for reviews before you buy it. So it's not something that's foreign to us anymore. We've been collecting reviews forever. We're putting them in notebooks and, you know, places where not that many people got to see them unless we trotted it out and put it up there. So it's not a new concept to agents. It's just having it be so public is, I think, the difference. And I think, you know, I have a couple of stories. You know, we started collecting reviews obviously years ago, even online, but you know, I was on a team, and we had one client where we got the feedback and that it was negative, but it wasn't about us. It was about a service provider that was involved. And we realized, oh my gosh, this client really wasn't happy in the end. But it gave us that opportunity to go back and resolve the issue with them, which made us look so much even better because we cared enough to go back and do something about it. So we turned a client that could have been someone that was going around talking negatively about us into somebody who was speaking positively about us out there in the community. So the way I kind of talk to agents, you know, in our office about it is, look, you know, we all talk about wanting to give great customer service, but we can't fix something if we don't know it's broken. So we have to ask. So that's kind of how we approach it.
Yeah, I actually heard a story once of an agent who, like you, Ashley, was very close to her customer, felt like the whole transaction went very, very well. There wasn't any glitches, no major stress. And then the review came back and it was negative, and she was blown away. She said, what happened? I thought we did a great job. And so smartly, she called the person and she said, the transaction was absolutely perfect. Everything was great until we got to the closing table. And at the closing table, you were kibitzing with the other agent and talking about what you're going to have for lunch, and basically we're not providing the respect and the importance that this moment had for me, right? Just like what you were talking about, Mark, with the divorce. And so she, of course, felt terrible and said, you're absolutely right. She learned a personal lesson, but if she hadn't had that transaction feedback, she would have thought everything was fine and would have gone her merry way. And in fact, she had someone that was very dissatisfied with her. So it's very interesting. Mark, we got a question, which I thought maybe I'll start with you, and then we can come back to our other questions. So the question is, so it seems you are soliciting the reviews for us, which is great, but what about anonymous reviews that get posted on sites like Google, Facebook, etc.? Can you help customers if they have that problem? Can they pull that back into the system somehow?
Yes, so we're in the process of importing all reviews from across the web. So as I said, Real Satisfy will be launched next week. We've got an integration with Google to whenever there's a Google review posted, to bring that through to the RateMyAgent platform. but also syndicate our reviews through to Google as well. So when you get a review through RateMyAgent, with one click, the consumer will be able to post that review through to Google Reviews as well and build that Google profile. In terms of getting a negative review on Google, there's not a lot we can do about that other than give the agents the tools to respond to that. I think it's really important that if you do get that example I showed at the start, what was really wonderful about the response was it was very professional. It wasn't she didn't try and turn it into an argument. She was answered it very professionally, and really said, if there's anything I can do for you, please contact me. I don't know who you are, but if you tell me who you are, I can help you out. And I think that's the thing that consumers have learned over the years, is that they've learned how to interpret what they read. Really quickly, we read a review recently for a resort in Thailand, and the review essentially said, don't go to this resort. We ordered a towel from room service and it took an hour to get the towel. For me, I just thought that person was a bit of an idiot. You're on holiday, relax, go and have a beer. So I think that's the really important thing, that if we respond to them positively and we can manage that reputation, then consumers can read through some of this stuff. So it's a big part of what RateMyAgent does. We educate people how to respond to negative feedback as well. But I think also getting that positive feedback and pushing it through to Google Reviews and other networks is really important as well.
I actually read a study somewhere that said that if you have reviews and everything's 100% A+, it doesn't seem as legitimate than if you get somebody like that needs a towel in 5 minutes, right? And consumers are smart enough to read the comment and say exactly that. Well, that person sounds like maybe they were high maintenance, or geez, maybe there was an extenuating circumstance. But in general, it makes the whole review process more legitimate and more believable. If everything's perfect, then it looks like it's been orchestrated, and that's not what we're doing here. We're collecting legitimate feedback.
Right, or you're cherry picking reviews and not.
Exactly.
Well, and I've even had positive feedback that on even RateMyAgent that was outstanding feedback in like the grand scheme of things, but if you really looked at what someone had written, you're like, well, maybe you didn't have to share everything, but you're glad they did it. But it makes it a more real review because, like you said, it doesn't read like someone edited it prior to its, marketing room floor engagement, so it's true reviews. Even the positive ones can get funny. So it's good.
Okay, let's go to the next question. So again, I'll go to the two all of your professionals, Mark, but I'll go to the US professional start. How with that? What are you doing with your reviews after you've collected them? We'll start with you on that, Lori. What do you do with them personally, and what are you teaching your agents to do with them?
So, well, we're using RateMyAgent. So the things that we've been doing, we use the promoter tool is one that I love. So you're getting your reviews out there all over the web, and all the places that your people will see them, not just on your website or in a platform that they use for search or something like that. They're going to be all over the place. So that's one. And interestingly enough, one of the tools I've kind of enjoyed, which I don't know that I really thought it would be that big of a deal, is the social media that actually posts it for you, so you don't even think about it. So I've had a couple of our agents, their listings will pop up or just sold, or different things that they would have never necessarily taken the time to do that, but it's kind of getting out there in the world, and it's just showing your brand more on social media. So I think that's actually a very pleasant surprise for me, seeing that. But I think for us, it's just about being consistent about collecting them and putting them in one place, because I feel like ultimately my goal would be that if a consumer is wanting to find out about an agent, that they're going to go to RateMyAgent, because that's where all the reviews are going to be. They can go to this place or that place, but they're only going to see a piece of the total picture. But if they go to RateMyAgent, they can potentially see the ratings from all over the web.
That's great. Do you train your agents on how to do that, or have you just kind of shown them how there's so many of them there?
Well, so the way I talk about it with our agents is it shouldn't be a surprise to your client that you start talking about the fact that you're going to ask them for feedback from the very beginning. That, you tell them that, and you can make it a fun thing. You just talk about, I want you to kind of remember everything as we go along, because I'm going to ask you about it later. And if you start at the beginning and you talk about it throughout the whole process, then when they get the request, they're not surprised. They're kind of expecting it, and they are more willing to kind of go ahead and give that feedback. Where sometimes if they don't even know it's coming, they don't know what it is. And we all get so much, spam, email, text, and everything these days that they need to know it's coming. So that's a huge piece of it, I think.
Gotcha. And Ashley, what do you do with your reviews after you've collected them?
Well, I currently have everything set to where the reviews will share to LinkedIn I feel LinkedIn is more appropriate for colleague connections. I don't honestly get much value out of LinkedIn messaging, but the news feed does tend to go to people that are following me, and I like that I can share with my marketed colleagues, even in cities that are in, they may be in cities and in industries that have nothing to do with real estate. Technically everything has to do with real estate, but that's a dissertation we don't have time for. But anyways, they pay attention to it. So one of the few ways I market to my sphere of colleagues, because I choose not to market to colleagues for very specific reasons, but the one area that I do is LinkedIn, and so I will have it shared to LinkedIn for colleagues that aren't even just real estate colleagues and that may not even be in my own market, because it shows what I'm doing. And I've even gotten some out-of-state referrals because of what I've done in marketing for LinkedIn. And then with Facebook, I do have it set to where it will share to my business page on Facebook. And what I like about that is that the business page is not, there's a whole dialogue and argument about whether or not you should use a business page, a business account, a business profile, your personal profile. What should you use? What should you do? And for me, I've chosen to use a business profile on Facebook because it's there for a reason, but also because I find that if you inundate someone with information through your personal page about your business, people eventually get aware of what's happening, and you get unfollowed to the point that even friends that might use you when they notice that's what you do don't choose you because they've muted you because you've overdone it. So I like that there's a way on RateMyAgent that I can set up a drip essentially of how often, how quickly, and how many times a week as well to share, even times of day to share for Facebook, because I don't want to just slam people with information constantly and get muted, and I'd like to do it during times that I feel my own market's paying attention. So I essentially create a way to make it personal for my own market to see what I'm doing, because it does show up well. And one of the reasons I love RateMyAgent, and I'll be honest, like, thank you for asking me to do this, because I have no other incentive to do this other than someone called me one day and said, hey, we noticed you use RateMyAgent. Would you want to do this? And I was like, yeah. And the reason why is I love stuff like this. Like, I do this here in my town too, like forward thinking, up and coming, pay attention to what we're doing type companies make me excited. And RateMyAgent is unlike anything else online, and that sounds like a paid for ad, but I truly mean it. Like, I don't like websites and I don't like platforms that have a visual aspect to them that looks like it's 1997, even 2003. And RateMyAgent looks like 2019. So what am I doing my reviews? I am sharing them to websites based off goals I have specifically for those sites. And I'm arranging it for times and dates that make sense to me for what I think is appropriate for my market, so I don't get muted. And I'm loving the platform of it because it looks good. It looks so sharp when it comes across. Much better than any of the top dog names you might think of right now. They don't have anything like it. So that's
great. And Mark, are there any other scenarios that you've seen from your customers, different ways that they're using their reviews to help their business?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the ways that Laurie and Ashley have discussed is about getting in touch with people, or getting referrals in the door, and we see a lot of agents use it that way. But we also see a lot of agents using it through the listing presentation. So we had an agent who I spoke to a little while ago who said, I went into a listing and I knew I wasn't going to get it because the agent I was up against had been managing the property from a rental point of view for the last 10 years. So I just went in there and as I guess a bit of a Hail Mary throw, he said, look, I understand you've got a strong relationship already, but what I'd like you to do is just go to my RateMyAgent profile and you can see all the properties I've sold. You can read all the reviews I've received from people in your area. He knew that the person he was up against didn't actually use RateMyAgent. And the person called him 24 hours later and said, look, your profile was so compelling. And actually what the person said was, I'm not suggesting that the other agent's not a good agent, but I don't want to take the risk. I don't know that. By reading your profile, I now know I've minimized my risk and I'm much more comfortable to go down the path of using your service. So I think in that listing presentation, it actually does two things. It reinforces your skill and your customer feedback. But then it also, when someone uses the tool to select an agent, they're also more inclined to leave the review. That they already know that there's an expectation that I'm going to ask you for a review once we finish the job. So we actually have a tool called an agent market report where agents can actually type in the address of the property that they're looking to list and sell, and they can build a report like a CMA report, but using reviews, where they can plot all the reviews that they've received that surround that property and email it or SMS it off to their customer. So we see that RateMyAgent's really about helping agents sort of get referrals, but also really equally as important, helping agents close deals and getting that signed authority by using their profile.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's a great idea. Of course, you should be taking what is more valuable than your reputation, right? That should be front and center in the listing presentation. It's a great idea. All right, let's go to our next question. So what are the elements that make up a marketable or promotable review? Maybe I'll start with you, with Mark, on this one, and then we'll go back over to Laurie and Ashley. What do you think are the right kinds of things that make a review really valuable?
Look, for us, and what we learned along the journey was it's really about linking that review to that transaction. Because if you just have a text-based review, it's not verified. No one really knows who wrote it. But by linking it to the transaction, you actually have a whole lot of benefits. First of all, you have the visual benefits. You have the photos of the house or the property itself. And from a social media sharing point of view, we know that if you share something through social media and it's just text-based, it's less likely to get clicked on. But if it has imagery there, then it's more likely to get clicked on. So I think linking it to the transaction and using the transaction itself to lift the review is really important. But I think the other one is the location stamping. Because we know exactly which property the review relates to, we now know the lat long information. We know exactly where that property is. So we can use that information. For example, we have a product that Laurie mentioned called Promoter, and that's where you can convert your review into a digital ad and promote it through Google and Instagram and Facebook's ad networks. We don't need the consumer to tell us what areas they want that to be promoted in, because we already know where the review was received. So we can automatically send that information through to Google or to Facebook to set the location targeting. So I think, in essence, for us, it's really, once you link that review to the transaction, it becomes a really marketable and promotable. And it actually, you turn a review into an asset. And we look at reviews as an asset. And in actual fact, they're probably the most powerful and most valuable asset that an agent has. So yeah, as I said, it's linking it to the transaction is really important.
So putting it in context really makes a difference. That makes sense. Yeah. Laurie, what do you think makes up for a really promotable review?
Well, I think that point about putting it into context is very important, because you can actually see that this agent sold a house, if it's in your neighborhood, and a lot of neighborhoods, they have almost identical homes. So you can say, okay, he knows how to sell my house, or she knows how to sell my house. And rather than have an agent that comes in and maybe, you know, maybe their reviews are, you have no idea where they came from, or maybe all the $10 plus homes and you have a, you know, a $250,000 home, and then you're wondering, okay, they're a great agent, but do they really match up to what, you know, my house is in the area my house is? Do they really know my neighborhood? This takes all of that away. You can see, I love, that was kind of what sealed the deal for me, I think, when I saw the property report, where it's all mapped out. It's right there. All you have to do is hover over it and the reviews kind of pop up, and it's so easy. And the visual part of it, and maybe I'm just a visual learner, or, you know, that kind of thing, but it just makes so much sense to me because you can see it right there in front of you. So I love the property report part of it. The other thing I think that's for, if you're going to promote a review, I think a little bit more detailed review about what the agent may have actually done, rather than just, you know, if you're going to pick different reviews to promote out there, I would say pick one that gives some of the specific things that you did, skills that you used for that client, rather than one that just said, you know, she's great, or, you know, she's the best agent ever. Well, that's good, but it doesn't really tell you a whole lot about how, you know, they actually made the transaction better for you. So that would be my suggestion.
Yeah, you know, that you bring up a good point about the locality. I was trying to sell my mom's house in Florida, so I don't know the agents. You know, sometimes when you're on your own neighborhood, you kind of have a sense of who the agents are, but I didn't know any of the agents down there. And none of this, and this was before RateMyAgent, Mark, unfortunately, none of the systems were that tightly defined, right? So it would be, well, it's in area code 33710. Well, that's a 50-mile radius, right? That doesn't mean they know anything about my local community. And so the systems were pretty much not helpful at all. So having it that way, where it's much more tightly defined, makes it so much more valuable. And like you say, put it in context of, I know you know my neighborhood, not a neighborhood, or you could be a great agent, but you don't know my side of the town, so who cares, right? So Ashley, what do you think makes up the elements that make up a marketable, promotable review?
You know, I was listening to what everyone was saying, and I'll say, for me, you know, I own a business, so I don't have time for extra pieces of information that are needed for me when it's already available somewhere else. And when I want to make a review be shared in a way that's what I would consider promotion, I don't want to have to spend 5 of my minutes to do that. And that sounds high maintenance, it sounds almost borderline rude, but it's not. It's a business perspective. I don't have the time in the day to take out and spend on making a system, sharing my reviews if it's not working, because there are sites out there and they're not working. And so I don't have time for that. I want my reviews to be shared and I want them to be marketable, but the first step to make them be promotable material is give me a site that actually makes it easy to promote my reviews and to get them from someone, because extracting the review and sharing it online are two separate goal issues that I have to assign to myself or an admin or my transaction manager, Ashley Schindel. She's amazing. She does those types of things for me and helps me set those up. But if it's going to make her job harder too, and then she can't get back to my next transaction to help with my clients on that one because she's over here trying to figure out ways to make my reviews look great online, like, that's too much. So number one is something that makes it easy, not because I'm lazy, but because I'm functioning as an agent and I'm producing work and I'm working with clients on a daily basis. I don't have time to do that. So first step is make it easy. Second step is make it look good, because I don't think people flock to things online that don't look good. I mean, they will see it, but they don't pay as much attention to it. And then for me, just personally as an agent, a third thing for me is really unrelated so much to the site here. It's because it's more related to me. I think that rather than pick and choose what particular review I would like to share, I want to create a more authentic brand where my online presence is available to people regardless of how great it sounds to me. And even if it ends up being a negative review, the access to my response, if there's a review that's negative, my response to that review, I want that available as well. So the third piece of the puzzle for me is I want to be able to be authentic, and that means getting people to provide me with reviews and not hand selecting which ones get shared. That's how I run my business. So with my RateMyAgent site, I have it set to where as soon as I get the review, it gets shared. Like, I don't stop and look at it. And that could be scary to some people, but is it? Like, it holds me to a higher accountability, because I know if I ask someone to review me here, it's going to go up and immediately be accessible. So I'm always working not for the review, because that sounds kind of cheap. I'm not just working for reviews so I can get more business. I'm working for people, and I would like for how hard I work in one transaction to be available to people who've never heard about me, so that I can have access to more market of more people to help. And so it's a great accountability factor. It's great for people to learn about your authentic brand and version, and I just like it because I can share it easily. So make it easy, make it pretty. That's it. Make it real. Make it easy, make it pretty, make it real.
Be accountable so you have good reviews coming out there. All right, next question. So what results have you gotten from promoting these verified reviews? Well, who should we go to first? I want to have you talk about that, Ashley. I know you've got some great stories to tell on this.
I'll go short. I'm gonna aim on going short on this one. One that I've already mentioned is I've received colleagues from other market locations off of LinkedIn who have noticed my profile, and here's what happened. Truly, I've spent time on my LinkedIn profile for quite some time, and started it back when I was in mortgage, in fact. So I've built a good deal of followers and contacts on that particular site, but I don't truly connect with many people. I'm not saying I'm an influencer, because I don't think I am yet, but I'd love if that became a thing. But in the meantime, I don't really communicate with other people as much on there. I'm more share and have things set up for what I want to portray. So with that said, I've had people from other markets who saw the RateMyAgent review pop up on their page and literally told me, because I will ask people when they ask to connect, I'll say, do you mind if I ask what about my profile led you to want to connect with me as a colleague? And they'll tell me, and at least two, I'm not going to say three, I can't remember, but I know for a fact 2 people have told me, well, I saw this review that you recently shared, and I looked back at the review, and I did share it because I set up the settings to share it, and I asked my client to share with me their feedback and opinion of me, but technically I didn't share it. It was automated from the RateMyAgent website based off of my requirements. So when I looked back at it, I realized, oh, they saw a RateMyAgent post that automated while I was out in the field getting deals, working with people, trying to make sure that people were ready to list their house, trying to talk with buyers and show them properties, negotiating paperwork, taking care of my kid and my family. Like, I'm doing my life, and that posted, and someone out there decided that looks good, let's go see what their page looks like. Then they saw off my page what I looked like to them off that site, and it led them to want to connect. And since then, I've received 2 different deals from people that were directly referred to me from someone that met me off LinkedIn, and it connected to the RateMyAgent. So I don't even know if I need any more examples. Like, that may be, but that's plenty enough, you know. I mean, other than that, it's more of a matter that right now I don't have it automated to send immediately to my clients. I use it as an opportunity for myself that I won't ask for their review until I've circled back after closing to connect with them in a personalized way and check in on them and see how they're doing. That way they don't receive a cold robotic request for a review after closing. They hear from me first, and I tell them, hey, just so you know, I'm about to send you this review. I'd love if you take a moment to fill it out. I know life's busy, but it means a lot for me, and it really builds my business online. Do you mind? And then they do it. So yeah, I think I should quit talking. I thought I was gonna go short, but it went long.
Your dog seems very happy. We see here his or her tail wagging wildly as you're talking. So.
He's been happy. So
must have gotten some better dog food after you sold those houses. That's funny.
I guess so.
Lori, how about you? What kind of results have you seen?
So I think happened. So, where I'm from, Pinehurst, where our company is, it's a pretty small town. And so we are very sphere-based in, our business. We don't do a lot of internet purchasing leads, that kind of stuff. We build our business based on our spheres. So on social, we, obviously that's our sphere too. So it's all kind of in one place for us. And so I know one person that was in kind of the sphere in the neighborhood where one of our agents works saw one of the reviews and recognized, okay, well, this was in my neighborhood and he sold this, and he got this great review, and knew the agent, but still was like, okay, I reached out to find out more about that, and ended up saying, hey, I'd like you to come talk to me, about potentially listing their house. So it can lead to a listing, obviously, that way. One of the other kind of I think funny things is we are getting ready to launch RateMyAgent with our entire MLS, but we haven't done it yet. We were kind of waiting until the right moment. And but a couple of our agents have started using it already. And so the ads are going out, and other agents in the market have seen it and have already gone and started, claiming their profiles. And I think that it's just funny because it's kind of like, wait a minute, what are these other people doing? Then we need to be doing this too, because obviously this is interesting. So that was just kind of a funny side effect I think we saw as we started using it.
Well, it's true. I mean, and you said it earlier, Ashley, the smart agents are the ones that are going to take advantage and take credit for the hard work they do. Lots of people do hard work, but they're not taking credit for it. If you're smart and you're doing well, why would you not take credit for it? That's really what it comes down to. And why would you not be the one to own and control it yourself, as opposed to third parties trying to charge you more and more money to do this stuff too, right? That's another component of this that I like, is you guys are in the center of directing what happens with your own ratings. Mark, are there any other examples of where you've seen people had some great success promoting their verified reviews?
Yeah, look, there's literally thousands and thousands of examples. There's agents who are getting leads off the promoter ads. Because we have so many people using the product now, we have ads going out all over the place, the social media that Ashley and Laurie have spoken about. The people using them in listing presentations to close the deal. In actual fact, when we send out a review request, one of the last questions we ask, and we've been doing this in Australia for quite a while, is did you use RateMyAgent to help you select your agent? And there's been tens of thousands of sellers who have answered yes to that question. So we get feedback all the time from agents who just say, it's one of those platforms that we call it's a tool. RateMyAgent won't do everything for you. You've still got to do your job. You've still got to be a good agent. Our job is to support good agents. And so then RateMyAgent is a tool to help you get more business. As Ashley and Laurie spoke about, you've got to set up your social media, and it will automatically share. You've got to run some promotions. You've got to use the platform in your listing presentation. So it's a tool to help people win more business. But we know, as I said, with 80% of agents in Australia using the platform, I guess they're only using it because it's helping them win more business.
To go back to, but like you said, you have to use it. And what Ashley says, it is super easy to use. Pretty much everything you can do in 2, maybe 3 clicks. Once you have it set up, and you go through your initial setup, once it's there, you can create the ads, you can promote, you can do all these things, and then request reviews. It's just click, and you're done. And it just makes it so easy. And you're, like Ashley said, we're all crunched for time. So this really makes a huge difference when you can go in, do what you need to do, and move on.
Awesome.
And that was
okay,
the objective. That was the objective of RateMyAgent. Sorry to cut you off there. That was the objective, was that an agent's job is to list and sell property or to buy property, you know, and that's a really big job. It's not their job to spend hours managing their digital marketing or managing their profile. As Laurie said, it should really only be a couple of clicks, get it set up, and then forget about it, which is really important.
That's great. Okay, let's go to the next slide. So how do you prepare clients for receiving a request for a review to get a better response rate? You guys have sort of talked to this question already, but any other thoughts about the best ways to make sure that you do get people to answer once that review request comes through? Laurie, any thoughts about that?
Well, like I said before, just make sure that, you know, they're very aware from the very beginning that you're going to be asking for that feedback. And one of the things that I think RateMyAgent has done that's different is that they use SMS as well. So you can send that request with a text rather than an email, because we all, I mean, I don't know about y'all, but I have so much email, I can barely, you know, I don't even want to look at it sometimes. But if you have been, you know, some clients like you to communicate with them through text, especially those, you know, 30-something millennial types. I have clients that that's basically all we did. So they aren't going to be upset if they receive that request through a text, and if they're expecting it that way. And it's super simple. They can do it on their phone. And again, it's click, click, and it's done. Gotcha.
Ashley, any other thoughts about ways to make sure that people answer your survey?
I would just repeat what Mark and Laurie have already said, as far as I know I need to work. One area I need to improve is front end preparing my clients that I will eventually ask for a review. My transaction manager has told me that for a while. I mean, I know that's the way to go. So I need to get better in that. I think that if you want to get honest, one of my concerns would be that if you, I guess if I overly emphasize the review, I don't want my client to feel everything I do is simply because of how I want to be perceived online. So probably for me, at this point, it's something I'm working on. It's one of my goals to find ways to better implement encouragement and requests for review, but so that I can begin and early on in the process, make sure they know it's going to be something I will do. But I would like to find ways to do that even more authentically. And I think that that's still a question to be had. And I think we always need to ask ourselves, how can I be the most authentic in communicating with my clients? So currently what I do simply is after the deal has closed, I will wait until a time when it seems, you know, reasonable to connect and communicate, because every deal is different, every client's different, every scenario is different. And then I will touch base with them in a personal way and say, by the way, I would love if you'd have a moment to send me a review. I'm going to send it to you in the coming week. And I won't necessarily send it the minute I just text that, because it doesn't look like you care if you say, hey, hope it's going well. How's the house? Oh, well, good. Glad to hear it went so well. By the way, I'm going to send you this review. So it's more like it prompts me to maintain a relationship. And then I will ask for that review. But I do not immediately ask for it after closing or at closing. And I currently have not, as effectively as I would like to, implemented a way of preparing the client in the beginning of the process for it. But part of me wants to just get real with them and just say, hey, guess what? Can't wait to work with you. Thanks for hiring me above all others. And in the meantime, when this is all over, I'm going to ask you for a review. And I'm not bringing it up again right now. But between now and then closing, know a review is coming, and I won't bring this up again. I just want to prove to you that I do great work, and just letting your work be the review. I don't know. I mean, maybe that's an idea. It's a rough draft out loud here on a webcam, so who knows?
Okay, so let's go to the next slide. I think we're at questions now, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, so we've gotten a couple. I guess the first one is for you, Mark, and probably one you would have expected. So if someone wants to, you know, become part of RateMyAgent, how do they get started, and what is the cost?
Yeah, so to build out your RateMyAgent profile, it's completely free. So we don't charge anything for an agent to request reviews and to have a profile on RateMyAgent. In most cases, the agent will already have a profile on the platform. So we collect data from the MLSs and a whole range of publicly available sources, and we create a profile for the agent. All the agent needs to do is go to RateMyAgent.com and search for their name. There'll be a big button there that says claim this profile. We'll verify who they are either via their phone number or by their email, and then they claim their profile. From there, they can start requesting reviews, they can start building out their profile, and there's absolutely no charge for that. If agents decide to upgrade their RateMyAgent profile, they can. That includes upgrading to things like the Google Connect. So if they want their reviews to flow through to Google and Facebook, they can upgrade their profile to a higher level of subscription. If they want to use our ongoing social media manager, they can upgrade. Those agent market reports are an upgrade. So we don't charge anything for the agents to set up their profile and start using their profile. There's just I guess an upsell if agents want to use the other tools within the system.
But when you said that this was free and didn't charge anything, you just got a big yay from someone in our audience. So thank you, Mark. There's another.
Well, I was just going to say, we often get the question, how can we do that? And I think it's really important to point out that we've done that in Australia for a long time. We're a publicly listed business in Australia. We're profitable and we're publicly listed. So we don't make money from helping agents collect reviews. We make money from helping agents promote reviews.
Right, makes sense. And you mentioned, Lori, that your MLS is going to be going live with RateMyAgent. Bob from our audience says, what MLSs are you working with right now? Is there a list somewhere that people can find? Is it on the website or?
I believe it's on our website somewhere. So we're working with some of the biggest MLSs across the country, Sierra MLS and Miami MLS and Contra Costa Bay East. The guys up in Detroit there, 𝗟𝗃𝗃𝗀𝘃, I'm forgetting the name, but some of the biggest MLSs in the country are already on board. And there's a whole lot more that are in the process of signing up. Laurie's obviously MLS about to launch. We've got San Diego and San Francisco and some of the biggest MLSs in the country.
Sarah wants to know if Stellar MLS in Florida is part of your team yet.
Stellar, we've got Beaches and Miami who have launched. Stellar, I believe we're in the process of negotiating the agreement at the moment, and we should be launching with Stellar hopefully later. The year's almost over, so maybe early next year. But we're Stellar, as I understand, love what we're doing. As we all know, it can be a bit of a slow process with the MLSs and getting them on board. But we launched with our first MLS only 6 months ago. And we've got a long list of MLSs to launch with over the coming months.
Sarah, I would recommend to you that you call Stellar and say, hey, I can't wait for RateMyAgent to go live and get them to go get faster out the door on that thing. Lori, you want to say something? I'm sorry.
Well, and you can still use RateMyAgent without your MLS necessarily, giving the feed. You can upload your own properties. It's going to be a little more work, but you can still do that. And, one of the other things I wanted to mention that we did as we started using it is we didn't wait till we had the next sale to start collecting the reviews. We went ahead and went backwards and looked, the last 6 months, the last year at clients, like who can we go back and touch again and tell them, we're using this new system. We'd love it if, you would give us a review. Maybe they gave you a review somewhere else. One of the features that I love is that you can take that review, copy, paste it, put it in RateMyAgent, connect it to the transaction so it becomes verified, and then it just shoots an email to that person, and all they have to do is say, yes, I said that. Yeah.
So that answers the question we had earlier too. If somebody already has great reviews, they can go backwards and still get them to connect it, even though it hasn't been collected specifically through RateMyAgent.
Right.
So if you were on another system, you could move over here potentially, right? If you had it on Zillow or Realtor.com or wherever else, you can bring them into this.
Yeah,
that's great.
Yeah, and even you can bring reviews that were never online. You can bring them from offline online. If someone sends you a great thank you note, you could put the text of that in and shoot to them and say, would you mind, and all they have to do is click the button, and now that becomes a review in your library of reviews in RateMyAgent. So
that's great. Even if it just comes in through email, anyway, doesn't matter.
Any way you get it.
That's a great thing. Okay. I'm gonna look out to the audience. Is there anybody else that has any questions? I don't see any others. Sarah seems excited. Hopefully, Sarah, it'll go live for you in Stellar soon. Any final words, Mark? If someone says this looks great, what do I do? How would you recommend? How do they get started with this? What should they do next?
The first thing to do is to go to ratemyagent.com and search for their name. There's a big box on the homepage. Just search for their name and claim their profile. We have a wonderful support team. We have an office in 𝗂𝗃𝗄𝗃, just north of San Diego, there in California. So there's some great information on the site. In the top right-hand corner, there's a button that says, if you're an agent, click here, and they can get into our database of articles that show them how to request reviews and claim their profile and promote their reviews and set up social media manager. But if all of that's too hard and they don't get the answer they need, they can just contact one of our support team there in California. And we'll be in touch and help them through. But we actually, it's been very interesting. I mean, Ashley's a great example. She's right in that we didn't know who Ashley was before she claimed her profile. Ashley didn't contact us. She found her profile, she claimed it. She started to get reviews. She started to use the platform. And I think I'm right, Ashley, in saying that I don't think you ever reached out to our support team, that the platform was just so easy to use. You just navigated your way through.
No, it was serendipitous that I answered the phone call at all, to be quite honest, because it was a number I didn't recognize. And typically, I'll let it go to voicemail and then I'll call them right back to be sure it wasn't business. But 9 times out of 10, it's a bot trying to sell me health insurance or car insurance. So I got the phone call, and it was a true human being. And I stopped her and I said, no disrespect, but I'm in a hurry. What are you trying to sell me about this website? She's like, nothing. I just wanted to see if you'd be open to talk about it because we noticed you use it. And I was like, oh, well, okay. So, I didn't even know it was you. Okay, cool. Well, it got me because I love the site, and it has nothing to do with anything other than I just love things that help me do my job, and I love helping people get where they're headed and what they want to do, and that's why I'm an agent. And I wish you guys more and more increased activity in the US because it's huge. It's so effective. So love it. Thanks for asking me to do this.
All right. Well, thanks to everyone. Remember, anybody that's listening today, that this is a concept that you need to do. If you work hard, and I know all of you are on this call or you wouldn't be on the call in the first place, go to RateMyAgent and take credit for all that hard work that you do, because you deserve it. So with that, we're going to tune out. Keep your eye out for those that are RE Technology subscribers. We do all kinds of great webinars like this regularly, and to learn about all kinds of great topics to help you better serve the needs of your clients. So with that, we will sign off. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Mark, Ashley, Lori. You guys were awesome, and we'll talk to you all soon. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.